Professor Einstein, welcome. It's an honor to have you with us.
Thank you, Zane. The honor is mine.
Professor, before we get into the science, I have to ask about the hair. It's probably the most recognizable hairstyle in history. So, what's the routine behind it?
I'm afraid the answer is rather disappointing. There is no routine. I always felt keeping up with a comb was a rather redundant expenditure of energy. Why fight entropy when one can simply embrace it?
That might be the most Einstein answer you could have given. So, Professor, you've lived in two completely different centuries. When you look around today, what stands out to you the most?
Oh, many things. Scientifically, it's extraordinary. Ideas that lived only in imagination in my time, you've turned into everyday life. Your medicine, your engineering, it's remarkable. But if I'm honest, the thing that stands out to me the most isn't the technology, it's the people.
Really? I thought the technology would have stolen all your attention.
For a little while, it did. Then I started watching the people using it. I always imagined that as machines grew more capable, they'd give something back to humanity. Time. Time to think. Time to create. Time for one another. Instead, everyone seems to be racing. And I'm not exactly sure what they're racing towards.
I think that's true. People are busy all the time. Emails, notifications, deadlines. There's always a next thing. We barely get time to think about the bigger questions.
The mind needs room to wander.
I suppose that's something we've lost a little, the luxury of simply thinking. It makes me wonder, how much of who we become depends on the world around us? Your world was quieter, slower. Do you think that shaped the way you thought?
I believe it did. Every generation is shaped by the world it inherits. Mine was no different. We had our distractions too, but we also had something your generation has far less of.
And what would that be?
Unclaimed time. Time when nothing demanded your attention. You simply existed with your thoughts.
Is that where your ideas came from?
Some of them, yes. I used to take long walks, go sailing. I wasn't particularly good at it, but out there, I was alone with my questions.
That's interesting. I always pictured Albert Einstein surrounded by equations, a blackboard, wrestling with the universe. But it sounds like you spent much of your life simply wondering about the questions.
That's a much better description.
Were you always like that, even as a child?
I think so. As a child, I was quiet. I didn't speak much until I was 3 or 4. My parents worried. But inside, my mind was never quiet. I remember my father showing me a compass. I must have been around 5. It fascinated me, the way the needle always turned north, no matter how I moved it. It left a deep impression. There was something hidden in the world, some invisible force guiding it. I wanted to understand that.
So even then, you were wondering about the world around you?
Constantly. While other boys played noisy games in the street, I preferred building houses of cards, or lying in the grass and watching the clouds. It was quieter there. There were fewer things pulling at a child's attention. So when a question entered my mind, it could stay. It could grow.
Did any of those early thoughts shape your future work?
Yes, they definitely did. If I remember correctly, I was 16 when I found myself asking a rather unusual question. What would I see if I could travel alongside a beam of light? It probably sounded like the daydream of a curious teenager. But that single question became the foundation of the theory of relativity.
That's incredible. At 16, I was probably too busy wondering if my crush even knew I existed.
I can't say I was entirely free of ordinary teenage distractions myself.
Well, I suppose some of us just had more productive distractions than others. But Professor, I'll be honest with you. The theory of relativity has always fascinated me. I've had people try to explain it to me more times than I can count, and I still don't think I've truly understood it.
You're certainly not alone.
Well, maybe tonight's my chance. Let's pretend I've never heard of the theory of relativity before. Where would you start? Professor Einstein and I have only scratched the surface. There are still questions waiting to be asked, and answers worth hearing. If you don't want to miss the rest of this conversation, subscribe to the Visorium. Until our next conversation, stay curious.